What's up, guys? Ben here bringing you another video. Some big news coming out of the Optic Gaming camp yesterday. Has nothing to do really at the high level of players and teams. It's more about an ownership, leadership conversation. Let's dive and talk about it and what it means for the future of this organization. All right, so Kevin Hitt of Sports Business Journal tweeted out yesterday afternoon that there are massive changes at Optic Gaming. Former CEO Adam Reimer has now stepped into an advisory role, and Hex is coming in to now be the CEO of the organization. I think as Jacob Wolf covered, we probably should have seen the writing on the wall for this one in a minute, since the massive sort of restructure on the content side a few months ago, where sort of the Hex Quarters content crew was taking over sort of the content side of this business, and that might have sort of pushed out sort of the stuff that Reimer had put in place. Oddly enough, Adam Reimer, who was the CEO, was speaking at an SBJ event as recent as last week. So this seems kind of a pretty quick move, and I wonder if this was long-term planned or was very short-term. But for the purposes of the video, I don't think that speculation was really sort of important. But first off the bat, I've seen a lot of dumb stuff on social media and on Reddit comparing this to the Infinite situation. Before I even address like the long-term part, this is completely different from that, right? That was a situation where Hector was bringing in significant capital into Optic. There was an organizational change in order to be sort of the catch on that money coming in, with Hector giving up ownership. And obviously we know how that went. This is not that, because the Optic and sort of Envy organization already had sort of financial backing. They've had the Hirsch family for a number of years supporting the organization, along with, I assume, some other investments. And this is pretty much a leadership change now that Hector has sort of been there for a year, coming off of the merger of the two organizations. So let's talk about what this means long term. So Jacob Wolf kind of had a take, and I sort of see where he's coming from, but I don't know if I'm so glass half empty as he is. You know, he kind of frames it in the context of sort of the Valorant situation and compares it to FaZe and Thieves, and we'll kind of get there in a second. But I think the bigger point here is the sort of task in front of Hector in the Optic group is that organizations like FaZe and Thieves have done a much better job embracing and building as a cornerstone of their business the sort of content network side of sort of gaming in esports. So what I mean by that is esports as a traditional business, or really as a business in general, is very much still a growth opportunity. These organizations aren't making amazing net revenue. What is probably going to make them money long term, and why the influencer business is so massive, is getting into the content and influencer game as massive upside. And there is revenue streams from merchandise, from brand partnerships, from activations. And these are areas where I believe FaZe and Thieves have done a much better job, an organization like Envy or an organization like Optic. So I think one that obviously comes to mind is merch. And you go to the FaZe website and look, you're just hit with collabs, you're hit with limited drops. They've obviously got sort of the foundations and basics there if you sort of dive in further on their website. And Thieves is very similar. They have a bunch of sort of different collections, but you know, they've started to roll out their foundations line. And again, the Thief stuff is very stylish, high fashion. Their foundation stuff is also a little bit more affordable, but I think that pipeline on the merch side is a little more developed than Optic. I will give them credit. The Optic merch side has expanded, at least in the last year or so since the merger. They're starting to bring in a lot more merch offerings. There's been a sore point for the Optic organization for a number of years, as far as I can remember. And this is probably the best year that they've had in terms of merch offerings. Really, again, building up sort of their foundational stuff, as well as collaborations, limited drops. So Optic's doing this side right. I think though where they're struggling to an extent compared to FaZe and Thieves is the level of brand deals and brand opportunities that those organizations have. And look, like FaZe, for example, has made pretty much a cornerstone of their business over the last few years, is really leveraging their partnerships team and doing these massive deals. For example, they have been like really on one of the forefront on the esports side of getting involved with sort of the marketing exercises around like AAA movies. If you see this example here of Nate Hill and Mongrel out on the red carpet streaming with The Rock, I mean, that's as big as it gets. And Thieves has obviously been well known for their brand deals. I mean, they literally have sold branding on their office as part of a massive deal they've done over the years with a company like Cash App. But for Optic, I can't really think off the top of my head sort of big brand partnerships and campaigns they've been a part of. Not to say that they can't really access those, because again, they have pretty massive creators as an organization, as individuals. I think they're going to be able now to leverage that, and that's where they should go. And it's going to take some time for them to scale to this level. But that's where I think they're falling behind, to sort of Jacob's point. I will say though, an area for Optic that I think that they have that sort of FaZe and Thieves don't have is they technically have a lease on their own venue. Like, to me, ESA is sort of a potential massive revenue stream for this business. I mean, we talk about, for example, Rocker wanting to come in and do, you know, their online qualifier matches on land and bring teams in the way that Houston Outlaws and Dallas Fuel have done in Overwatch League. What's stopping Optic Texas from doing the same for their Call of Duty matches and playing in front of fans for every single game they do? FaZe and Thieves have sort of these cool multi-use offices. You can get fans in there if you want to, but they're not a multi-thousand seater significant space venue where you can come in and run massive events, and then you can make revenue off of the gate, off of your food and beverage, off of merch, off their activations you do in the lobby in the back of the room. So again, with Hector coming in, I would like to see them leverage this least more. We know the rockiness of Esports Stadium Arlington's ownership history and envy coming in before they were picked up by Optic. I think it stabilized that, especially I got to give a lot of credit to Corey Dunn and team on what they've done within that venue. This is a potential opportunity that they need to leverage because they have an advantage over FaZe and Thieves in this part. And I think the final thing on my end, and it's maybe more of a Call of Duty focused thing that Hector is going to need to navigate long term, is really the question of Scump. And it boils down to this. I don't think he's going to play as a professional for forever. I don't know if he's going to retire in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but their business is definitely going to change quite a bit in regards to that team when he inevitably steps down. As big of creators as say Shotzzy or Dashie are, they're not to the level of Scump is, and him then transitioning to, let's just say, more of like a Tarek role where he's going to be a big co-streamer, variety streamer, whatever. It's going to change the economics around that team. So one sort of potential thing that he's going to, Hector's going to need to navigate long-term as a CEO. But look, I'm not as glass half empty as Jacob is. I think that this is a good change for Optic. I think Hector's going to come in and bring in a lot of creative insight and long-term ideas, sort of generation around the business. They do need to come in and brings in some more brand partnerships. And I think we're going to start to see them sort of move more towards the FaZe and Thieves model of being sort of, a content network and really leveraging their wide variety of creators from chess to esports in order to advance as a business. Let me know what y'all think. I know Optic fans look like y'all probably have some strong thoughts on Hector. I know non-Optic fans have some strong thoughts on Hector. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this piece of news. As always, if you like the content, smash that like button, subscribe for more content, and we'll see y'all on the next one.